Hi guys, and welcome back to the Art of Poor Laps. Now, it has got to be said, it's been a long time since I've been out in the lovely Clarabelle to do a plein air adventure, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I've been busy in the gallery. The weather hasn't always been conducive when I get time to possibly go out and paint, and on top of that, poor Clarabelle, she's got a little bit of trouble with her waterworks, and so we're not able to go as far afield as I might like to. So until I can get that fixed for her, we're sort of limited on distance, and so I've got to be a bit careful with that. But where we're going to go today is a place called Winchelsea Beach, and it's a lovely area just the west of Rye, and I've been there once or twice before painting. It's a lovely stretch of beach, lovely old bespoke groins that are dotted all over the beach there. But I mean, the weather is building up to be absolutely stunning today, because we've got lovely warm, not as hot as it has been, which is a blessing, but there are lovely clouds in the sky as well. There's lots of sort of, not rain, but lovely puffy white clouds right now. That could change, of course, but I think it's looking good. The only factor I'm a little worried about is exposed down there on the wind, but we'll see what happens. We can only go and see what turns up. So tomorrow they give rain. I'm not too sure how that will be. We'll play it by ear. I mean, if it's too much and I have to call it a day early, that'll be it, and we'll just rely on what I do today. I hope whilst I'm down this way I can do at least one oil, if not two, maybe even a bit of casein in the evening. Who knows? I never know, and see what takes my fancy when I get there. I have everything on board, as you know I normally do. I've got oils, watercolors, I've got casein, gouache, pencils, pens, the lot. I'm catered for, so it doesn't matter. It is a rolling mobile art studio for me, and that's what the whole of this with Clarabelle is all about. So I'm just going to go with it and see what happens, and hopefully you guys will be along for the ride and enjoy it, get something from it. And I will also film a little bit of me in the van life part of it, so if you don't like that aspect, then you can skip forward to the painting bits happily. It's not a problem, and I look forward to catching you at the other end, just see how it all turns out. Catch you all later. Bye bye for now. Hi guys, and welcome back. Well, I've just taken a little walk up towards the cliffs, hoping that there will be a little bit of a respite from the heavy wind that's here. Unfortunately not. It's just an absolute no-go. So I'm going to spin around and go inland, try and find somewhere that's maybe a little more protected, maybe a river scene, something like that. And I have one place in mind if I can find it again, but yeah, unfortunately it's a late start. Hopefully we will get a film done at some point, but it's all part and parcel of traveling around the countryside in a van on any given day. You never know quite what's going to happen, and in hindsight I should have really looked at the wind direction more closely, and that would have told me that, you know, it's exposed more down here, and I should have gone somewhere else to start with and stop wasting my time. Got a couple of photographs, and they, I hope, will be useful in the future, and we shall see. They may well make a nice subject for an oil painting or a watercolor or something down the road. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to crack on. Just going to have a quick cup of coffee. Cheers, and I'll talk to you again all very soon when I find somewhere that I can actually paint. Catch you soon. Okay, so I don't know how this is all setting up. I hope that I've got everything as it should be in focus. I am battling against the winds that are coming on the side of the van, but even with that in mind, I've got a problem with rocking and light issues and all sorts, but we'll do what we can do. I'm working in oil, and I'm just going to look at my horizon line, which is way off there. You can't see all the mixes, I'm afraid. It's either mixes and a little picture or bigger picture and no mixes, just the way it is. But what I'm going to do is I've got this pre-painted surface. It's got lots of texture in it, as you can see, and it's an imprimatura put on with some raw sienna mix originally, and then wiped back or rubbed off a little bit and allowed to dry. Now this is just one of many ways. So what I'm going to be doing is I want to put in quite a high horizon, I think, or do I want to put in a lot of sky? Now that's the decision you've got to make when you're doing any landscape, is do I make a lower horizon? I think I do. There's a little bit of a fence through here which I quite like, zigzagging up to there, and then we've got some hill structure and the hill up the top there, and then we're going to put the sky in. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in quite low through here just to suggest where the top of the fields are, and then I can come this way with a bit of field structure. It's absolutely beautiful here. The sun is beautiful. I've got to watch. I may have to put a long sleeve on shortly because I am facing the sun and that's going to get me. In fact, what I will do is I'll sneak in now, hopefully not disturb anything, and get a hat on and a long sleeve. I think that would be prudent. This hat is flapping around like billy-o. I'm tempted to put a cap on. That might be a little better. We'll see. But I'm getting buffeted. I think I will put a cap on. Bear with me, everybody. I think this one may be a little better. There we go. That one's just flapping in my face and very annoying and disconcerting when it comes to concentrating on what I was meant to be doing. So while I'm just finishing off this sketch of the scene in raw umber directly onto my imprimatura base coat, I just want to let you know about the full version of this can be found over on my wildlife and landscape painting school. All the details for that can be found in the show more tab underneath this and many other videos. Well worth checking out. Hope to see you there. And I'm just going to outline the shape like that as it comes down and into the next hill there. You can break up the edges. There's a whole raft of different things on the top of this hill giving way and suggesting trees and shrubs and bushes, everything going on up there. I'm going to put in a little bit more yellow to one side, and I think that as we come this way I can get away with that. Yellow ochre is a bit of an addition today. I don't always use it, but I quite like it, and it's something that I sort of put on sometimes and don't put on, just depends. But I think we can get away with it today. Spotting that harrier hunting out there was an absolute treat, I've got to say. I didn't have much time to film it, but it was still a fantastic sight to see. Now, before I get any further, if you like this video and you like the content, then please consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon and the notification tab. It tells you every time I upload a new video, and I'm hoping to get one out almost every week if possible. A bit more yellow in there. So we're primarily using yellow ochre, whites, and two blues that I've already mentioned, and they're creating the lower portions of our clouds and our sky. And that's it. We're going to introduce a new color very soon, just to help out with some of these clouds. I'm going to bring in a little bit more white to a couple of these places here, and a little bit more yellow into that white as well. I don't want to make them overtly yellow, but I do like the idea of having that little bit of yellow accent, and that sort of suggests the sunlight on our clouds overall. I picked up a little bit of lemon yellow then, I see it in there. But I'm not worried about that at all. It does work. Lemon yellow, any yellow to a point, will excite the white color. And so don't worry about it if that's what happens, as it did with me just then. Yeah, ultramarine blue. We're just going to knock that down a little further. I think that's quite a nice color and fairly representative of the trees and woodland back here on this distant headland and distant form. Now there are going to be darker areas within there. Let's come in there and put a little bit of that, and the little bit of cobalt blue, a little bit of raw umber, just a smattering of raw sienna, just to turn it away from the bluish color and just see what that looks like. That's going to give me a few darker passages in there to suggest the bases of woodland, the bases of trees, and a little bit of silhouetting against the edges of the sky. All right, so now we're going to come in with a stronger color. We've got the sky done, we have our background done, and the colors are muted enough that we can now come in with some very, very big dark colors. So I'm going to come in with a lot of ultramarine blue, and I use a lot of burnt sienna to make quite a dark, and it's a warm dark or a cool dark depending on exactly how you want your color to be portrayed. You can be warmer, can be cooler, depending on the blue and the red that you use. I've also added in some raw sienna, so we get a very dark area underneath all our trees here. So this is going to be the base color, to which we now put on some lighter green colors, but I'm coming in with the darker parts first. Don't forget that always the dark colors that you use are going to be in the foreground, and also your trees tend to be the very, very dark accents on your painting. So we've got a lot of green up there, and I'm just trying to work out where I put my line. I think it's going to come a little higher actually. I'm just going to bring it up ever so slightly to about there. Just re-establish that as my horizon line. That color is ever so slightly too blue. I'm going to come in and put a little bit more sienna to it, a little bit of yellow ochre to it, then come back in with some blue, and that's going to give me pretty much a dark greenish color, and I think that's the color I seek. Quite a dark, deep green color, but it is dark. It isn't allowing too much light emanating from it, but it is enough that I can then come back in and plant some beautiful light greens to create the illusion of all that we seek to do. I'm going to put a few of them up in here because they do get quite dark into some shady areas from whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why that is so dark there, because, and it is, and I don't think it's not down to clouds, but they are just dark at that point. But not to worry, we're going to come back in that. We can change that if we decide it's wrong. So there's our houses. All right, so we're going to put in a few touches of dark in here just to help the greens when we come to put them in. A little bit of dark through here and up the side of this hill. We're going to put some more of those in. So I'm dabbing and dotting all that information up there as we move forward. There's structures in there that I can't make out. I'm not too worried. I'm just treating them all as trees, but we will come in with lights and darks. So I'm putting in dark passages. We have that little dark hedge line up this part of the hill structure. We're going to put that in. We got darks of trees against the background, so we're going to put those in. And if I remember right, I said that that's quite pale behind, so let's come in with some darker structures here so that we can see and identify the hill behind it. I come in, put a little bit more light in through here, and then we've got a couple more trees that are there, and they are going up to meet the trees that are just off of here somewhere. Couple of smaller ones there and there. And actually my line's pretty much spot on anyway. There's a few bushes and smaller shrubs way down through there. Try and keep my horizon line a little bit on the level side would be good. Okay, so we've established our dark areas. Now I can also come in and suggest some darker lines that will form parts of field contours. I'm going to put in a little bit more yellow ochre and a little bit of cobalt blue this time, just to make it ever so slightly greener but dark at the bottom. I'm not too worried about brilliant green colors at all, not at this stage. I will lay those in later as I feel the need to do them. I'm going to put in some dark marks through here. There is so much field work going on at the back there, you can't actually see where one starts and stops. They are literally colours, and they are separated by other colours, in this case lights and darks of green. Now we've got our field here. Beyond that we've got this field line going all the way up out the back there, so we're going to put that in, and that will go back on itself this way. So it's like a zigzag, and all I'm doing is putting that in through there. We've got a nice shape with a bit of a rise in the field there, like so. Not that one, but that one. And then we've got a little bit of a suggested lump in the field through here, all actually meeting at this fence line. Now I'm going to come in a little bit more darker blue, a little bit of umber to that, making an umber, more richly umber than anything else. But I want to come in here now for the base of these reeds that are running through towards me at this point, like so. And then we've got that dark line. This part here I sort of think is part of this running up through here. It's all part of one big ditch, and then we've got a lot of reeds and grasses and stuff through here, which we're going to play around with the greens. So now the rest of our painting is all set. What I do want to come in and do is I'm just wiping the color green out of my brush, and I'm going to come in here with a bit more sienna, burnt sienna. And I just want to come in here now and suggest the coloration on our building. So I've got a little bit of sienna. I'm going to put a bit of cobalt to that because it's not pure sienna. It is quite a reddish color, sides of the buildings, something like that. And there's going to be a bit of white and other things. I just need them to look similar to as I see them in the distance, but I don't want them to become so strong a color that your eye just goes pop to it. It's there to support everything and nothing more. And then come all the way down to here, a little bit of green around the base. Lots of stuff going up on the hill behind. It's not quite the square that I'm suggesting. There's other stuff in here, paler, lighter. I think this part I'm seeing is the end elevation of one building, and to that we can then come back in and add the other lights. So we're going to come in with a little bit of light into our color. So we've got a nice I'm going to come in with a smaller brush. I'm going to actually use a small long filbert color a long filbert brush, so it's quite a thin one, but it will allow me, if I can, just put that there for 1 minute, support my arm, and let's just come in and suggest the light on the end of that building. Again, please don't fuss over it if you've got it exactly as it should be. It is merely an indication of what's there. Now that's quite a light color. There's lots of lights in here. Paint what you see, nothing more. We all think we see the house and we put the dark in here, light in there, and really and truly it's not as it is, because our brain seduces us into thinking we need to do X, Y, Z, something differently, and it's not the case. There is a cool white light coming down here. I'm going to put that in. There's part of the buildings that we can see. Okay, hopefully suggesting more and more of the structures. Going to come in with a bit more umber and a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit more blue. I still want it to look red, so the blue will be overpowered by the reds and the brown, but they help to cool it down equally as much. A little top tip here: if you don't have a mole stick or a rest, then use your wrist. Put your hand in place and rest on your wrist. It does make a fantastic substitute and keeps your hand very, very steady for those more important detailed parts of your painting. I learned that the hard way, but it is well worth considering and remembering. I'm going to come here and sort of put a bit more color in these. Losing those windows, we can re-establish those shortly. Trying to get a straight edge or two. All right, there's another shape or form down there, not quite sure. Put it in there. It could be dormers, it could be all sorts on the buildings up in that area. A little bit of dark on here to suggest little bits of information. We've got a darker window in there, put that in. Come underneath that with some white as well. I'm going to put a window or two in here, like that. Okay, for this section in the dark area of the trees in the middle ground, I started to build my little bits of highlights, those green areas of the trees that show up in the sun. I made a few cooler ones and a few warmer ones with adding a little bit more yellow here and there. And it seemed to work out very, very well. And it is a case of keeping those layers quite distinctly different from each other, not overdoing anything, not getting the paint too wet as it were, just being careful as you put them on, one tap, one piece of paint, and then going forward with the next bit. So I'm going to start concentrating. I've got that field to finish, so let's just do the colors for that. Now we are blessed with a little bit more yellow, a little bit of white into our yellow. And I'm going to put the side of this field in here. That's too pale. We need to address that. We'll come in with almost some pure yellow. We're going to see how that works. We've got white on there already, so we're going to use that. Bring that up into that shape. It goes, cuts up into these trees here. Don't work it too much because you'll pick up the green and mess up your field color. I'll take that down here. Come too far that way with it. Quite a strong accent of light through there. A bit more yellow as we come this way. And a pure yellow, maybe even a little cadmium yellow to help it. And bring that down into here. Cut into some of these shapes of the hedge line through there. Just break them up a little bit more. And then they join in with that set of trees. A seagull sitting behind me, he thinks I'm feeding, thinks I'm eating something, he's hoping for a handout, I'm sure. Right, anyway, let's come back in. I want to put some dark, so I'm going to come in and make a fresh dark ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, more burnt sienna, a little bit of raw umber, and some of my raw sienna. Could have used a little bit of yellow ochre as well. And all the time you do that, you're lightening it up a little bit more. So a little bit more blue, and make a bit more of a darker green color. That's what I'm trying to do. Probably not dark enough, but let's come back in here. Of course, depending where you live in the world, but most landscapes you paint are going to have a green color in there somewhere, or in this case, a lot of places are going to be covered in greens, and the choice of green colors that you use will determine whether it reads correctly from front to back. And I've got cool greens in the background, I've got lovely vibrant greens in the middle ground, and we're going to get even more greens going on in the very foreground. But you've got to watch the colors. I've got lots of videos. I'll put a couple of things up that you can look at if you want to see how I paint greens with oils. And we're going to make them sort of pinky violet colors. That's a little bit too green still. Let's come in with a bit more red. That's way too much red. But on the contour tops, there is sort of where the grasses have been chewed, and it's almost bare earth that's popping through, or dead bits of grass. I'm not quite sure what it is, but there's a whole raft of different color shapes that come through here. I want a dark accent right there against that reed bed. Very dark, very strong jump between light and dark. We're pretty much coming to the end of this painting, and I'm putting the more muted greens. I'm putting in a little bit of pinky violet colors into some of these greens as well. And at the same time, I'm coming in with that little bit of a gate structure that bridges from one field to the other. And that's what drew me to this painting, is the fact that you could wander through that gate, through this field, onto the next one, and go all the way out to the hills and that village should you wish to do so. And I felt that it just was a lovely lead in, especially with those two tufts of grasses right in the foreground, taking your eye into those gates. So I'm going to come in now and just put in a few little white taps of sheep. These fields are full of sheep, maybe a little bit of yellowish, pinky, orangey colour to suggest that they're not white, not snow white. And there's lots of little colours underneath them, but they're too far off there. I just want to put in loads of little taps of lots of little sheep. They are young and old up there. You get little clusters of several together. Okay, well that will do for the field behind. There are a little bit more warm colours. So I'm going to put a little more yellow ochre into with a bit of red as well. I'm just going to suggest the afternoon light on some of the sheep in here. Okay, hopefully that conveys enough of sheep. I'm not sure if it does, but if it doesn't, I apologise. And I think that's it, really. I mean, you can keep playing around with little bits of information here and there. But I hope you've enjoyed the process. I hope you got something from it that you can use in your own work moving forward. There we are. One landscape of, I guess it's Winchelsea towards Pett level. So yeah, there you go. I'm going to put a signature on it now. In the meantime, I'm going to get set up, move on and find somewhere else to paint. I've had a lot of fun with this one. I do hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a go at this one yourself. Take care. Catch you all in the next one very, very soon. Bye-bye for now. Bye. Right, I've got some cheese and bacon toasties tonight. Nearly didn't because I left the bread at home, but I went and found some rye bread at a local supermarket. So yeah, we're good to go. But some lovely soft blue cheese and bacon. Doesn't get much better than that. He says. We'll see how it turns out, but the bacon's cooking. I might put a little bit of ham in the other one, just see how that goes. So yeah, I'll let you know the outcome. I think there's 3 slices in here, so we're good. If I'm out tomorrow, I can have a slice or 2 for my lunch. I've got enough bread left for another toastie. That'll be good. Now, all the clouds that were out there earlier have just gone. We've got lovely blue sky and very faint wispy clouds. It's amazing how a day changes from one bit to another. At one point there was no sun and there was just solid clouds going through, and I thought that was the end of my day. And then they started breaking up, and yeah, and it's just turned out now they've all gone. Great. What a wonderfully peaceful evening I've got here. And it's an absolute gem. Beautiful. I'll catch you all on the flip side. I'm going to enjoy my dinner. Catch you soon. Oh, that's good. That is really good. Third one in, but it's hidden by all the other trees coming up to this one, something like that. Through here, maybe just through there, just to level that one off. There we go. Just a whole load of seagulls taken up from the distant reed beds out there. I like that. All right, enough.